I deeply apologize for the lack of videos last weekend. My dad and his friend came down and we spent the weekend together. So I didn't really find the time to record videos, but still, it won't stop me from getting this done. And now, the news. Sorry, it's news time! Several days after the mass awakening of those suffering from Paranoia Syndrome, hospitals across Japan have at last begun discharging patients. According to the Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare, an initial group of approximately 100 patients was released from various care facilities across the nation, after they were examined and determined to be in good health. A spokesman promised to provide updates as events develop. A total census of Paranoia Syndrome victims is still not available at this time. Hospitals worldwide, already in disarray from the difficulties of caring for these patients, were strained even further from the shocking recoveries of all those afflicted. Reports are still ongoing, but at present it appears that all patients suffering from the disease, which rapidly gained infamy due to its idiopathic origins, rapid onset, and symptoms resembling an untreatable coma, recovered between 11 p.m. Monday evening and 1 a.m. Tuesday evening. In a recent interview, Dr. Tai Takemi, a clinical physician particularly renowned for her work in pharmaceuticals, remarked that in this time frame, brain activity markedly changed even in those patients who did not immediately waken from their comatose states, suggesting that recovery was indeed uniform and near simultaneous across all those afflicted. Dr. Takemi declined to speculate further, only stating that her own medicines did little to affect the sickness. The WHO continues to investigate, as nations tally the financial cost, and tensions gradually wind down from the tensions of click. We live in a senseless world. Government conspiracy, it fucking has to be. It was aliens, not the illegal kind, the probe kind. I've got to go back to school. My brother's okay, that's all I give a shit about. Dr. Takemi, step on me! What? I'm thinking about how health insurance will work for this, and it's turning my hair white. At least no one will go to war now, I guess. I was all worked up for a good apocalypse, and then I got blue-balled at the last second. Remember all of this, don't just let them bury it. Click. Days after the initial rumors, the Tokyo Metropolitan Police have at last issued a confirmation. Former celebrity and child detective Goro Akechi, age 18, turned himself in early Tuesday morning after being presumed disappeared since last November. Mr. Akechi reportedly handed over a loaded and illicitly modified firearm and confessed to between 20 and 30 counts of first-degree murder performed to further the campaign of former Prime Minister Masayoshi Shido. Mr. Akechi, who had gained celebrity status for his work in the police department, his frequent talk show appearances, and his long campaign against vigilante group the Phantom Thieves, maintained a significant fan following even after his disappearance. These shocking developments have stunned a country already reeling from the sudden dissipation of Paranoia Syndrome, with numerous theories regarding his crimes and confession already appearing online. Further details regarding the killings are still forthcoming, but a TMPD spokesman stated that Akechi presently claims he used poison provided to him by Shido's co-conspirators, while simultaneously leveraging his connections with the police to hinder investigations, falsify evidence, and mislead other detectives. He's saying that the mental shutdowns were actually special poison that he used to stop the Phantom Thieves from taking responsibility. These allegations, if true, would make Mr. Akechi the most high-profile juvenile criminal in decades, guilty of premeditated mass murder as well as conspiracy against the state. According to several legal experts, a full conviction will almost certainly lead to the death penalty. The police refused access to Akechi himself for comment. As the Paranoia Syndrome pandemic slowly resolves, it may be said that Goro Akechi's fate is one of the most hotly discussed topics in Tokyo, dredging up memories of incidents everyone in thought concluded last click. Bull fucking shit. Alright, fess up. Which one of you fangirls wished on a monkey's paw? I always hated that guy. This is a frame-up. There's no way Goro would do this. There's just no way. Where the hell was he hiding all this time? I thought he was dead. I mean, he's obviously going to die now, but Goro did nothing wrong. I'm refreshing my feed every 10 minutes. Ha 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 ha. Everything is completely on fire. Fuck Paranoia Syndrome. This is the new hotness. Oh my god, his little fans are literally crying in the streets. I'm gonna die laughing. R.I.P. Japan, killed by cute high schooler. Comment deleted by moderator. Is it the Akechi is bae joke? Okay, what kind of poison makes people leak black goo from their eyes and drop dead? That actually happened, right? We got it on tape and everything. Has anyone even seen him yet? This could just be some viral marketing thing. Fuck the police. Comment deleted by moderator. The Black Star's influence was gone, but trepidation still lingered in the air. That sense of inescapable doom wasn't forgotten so easily. People spoke more, but furtively. Their laughter and smiles were nervous and quick, as if too much open happiness would invite Paranoia Syndrome back into their lives. Shujin Academy, which many believed to be the flashpoint of the pandemic, was no different. Many of the students clustered in corners and filled each other's heads with rumor. The faculty, for their part, made a commendable effort to try and return things to normal. Miss Kawakami organized a small but enthusiastic celebration for Tsukiko Minami's impending return. Her hospital room was so mobbed with get-well cards and floral arrangements that it was difficult to see the girl herself. Futaba hadn't sent her anything. She wasn't really up to date on the whole concept. But even after all this time, she couldn't get that initial image out of her head. Tsukiko sprawled out and dead-eyed on the floor across from her, the desk legs like cell bars across her face. It kept nagging at her, until she'd finally retreated to a secluded spot in the school courtyard, and taken several deep breaths, and finally dialed a number with shaking fingers. You know, throughout the story, unless it was bringing it up, I kept forgetting Tsukiko Minami's name sometimes. She was used to texting. She hadn't invested many ability points in actually talking on the phone. That was probably why it had taken her about 30 seconds of agonized stuttering just to tell Tsukiko her name. But things had smoothed out after that. You were the first one to call, you know. Tsukiko's voice was still weak, but either she was enjoying the conversation or doing a good job of faking it. I mean, I've got plenty of cards that's like impersonal. Easy to figure out why, I guess. I pissed too many people off. Too much shit-talking behind their backs. It wasn't that bad. She was hunched on the ground, out of sight, knees pulled up to her chin. She spoke quickly, firing each sentence off like a rocket before it could blow up in her head. I've seen way worse. I bet. I must have freaked you out bad when I collapsed. Sorry about that. Not your fault. I kept telling everyone you were a real freak, you know. A long pause. Maybe I brought it on myself. Do you mean Paranoia Syndrome or no one visiting? Actually, don't answer that. Both are wrong. You're fine. And you had a point anyway. I know I'm weird, but I'm cool with it. Yeah, you are kind of cool, aren't you? Futaba nearly dropped the phone. Hey, you into movies? You. I mean, what kind? Any kind. I was into horror for a while, but I'm in the mood for something light and fluffy. Get my mind off stuff. I know. I mean, I don't know. I know, but I don't know. I'll think about it. We can talk when you come back. Face to face. With eye contact. Steady, steady. Tension meter at maximum. Yeah, sure. That works. Are you into Akihabara? I know some cool spots. Interesting. Her mouth had made those noises with minimal input from her brain. Oh, hell yes. You know those little cat dolls they've started selling? I got like 10 of them. Roll with it. Yeah, I made my own. She'd stitched it over the summer to keep her hands busy. Black with blue button eyes. A sloppy imitation of Morgana. That's like the Valentine's chocolate that she makes when she's a Valentine's Day date. Seriously? I'd like to see that. Special move. Extra points. Okay, sure. We can do that. Do stuff. Cool. Talk later. Hey, wait. How'd you get my number in the first place? Ask Miss Kawakami for it. She lied. Just wanted to get in touch. I was worried about you. That, at least, felt like the truth. Well, thanks. And I'm sorry for all the crap I said about you. Even if you, apparently didn't notice any of it. It's fine. I'm fine. Alright. Nurse is giving me nasty looks. I'll see you around, Sakura. Yes, we can do that. I'll hang up now. Goodbye. She jammed her finger on the disconnect and held her phone to her chest until her heart stopped jackhammering. She hadn't gone out that far into enemy territory since Akira had first taken her to Akihabara. This quest had been way above her level. Still, she'd muddled through somehow. It looks like Futaba and Tsukiko are going to become friends. That's good. Next up, checking in with Miss Kawakami. She left the courtyard, went up the stairs, made her way to the teacher's lounge. Several people waved at her. After a moment, she remembered to wave back. She was just outside the door when her phone buzzed again. She fished it out and squinted at the unfamiliar number. Then the messages popped up. Hey. Texting from my mom's phone. This place smells funny. How are you? A complicated moment passed. Kawakami flung open the door and charged out into the hall, looking even more frazzled than usual. From the noise, she'd expected to see someone being attacked outside, or worse, comatose again. Instead, she found Futaba, jumping out and down in place with her phone in her hands, squealing with joy. Futaba? What on earth are you... She held out the phone. Akira's awake! Kawakami blinked. She grinned. Then she joined hands with Futaba and started jumping in place with her. The squealing became stereo. The other students stared at this display of jubilation for a moment, and then, as one, they turned away, the same thought on all their minds. God, what a messed up school. Has gone dark once again, and most likely for good. After promising a major revelation regarding Paranoia Syndrome, The hacker group Medjed gained the largest following they'd seen since their public feud with the Phantom Thieves last spring. However, the promised date has come and gone, and Medjed themselves have fallen completely silent. Their social media accounts and homepage have likewise been erased, now bearing only the message "Close Sesame." Response has been swift. Hospitals across Japan have decried the breach of security, and the Diet has promised harsh repercussions should Medjed resurface once more. As their followers and supporters dwindle almost to nothing, it now seems likely that Medjed, as it currently exists, will not return again. Public attention has largely moved on as Paranoia Syndrome's victims continue to return home, with focus on Goro Akechi's impending trial remaining the most prominent. Click. Guys, I think we got trolled. Heard a rumor they got smacked down by some government white hat, RIP. Wonder what they were going to drop. Probably just had the total number of PS victims or something. Who even cares? Pretentious dicks. Glad they're gone. IMAO, their followers dropped by like 50k in 2 hours. Anyone know when Akechi's court date is supposed to be? Goro did nothing wrong. Yes, he did. Grow up. Click. The trickle of regulars slowly returned to Café LeBlanc. Older folks, most of them, sampling Sojiro's coffee for the nostalgia more than the taste. They'd smelled his roast before the world had briefly flipped upside down, and he watched them scent it again as if they hoped it would help them forget the paranoid days. Their gossip was disjointed and vague, and they didn't linger as long as they used to. Sojiro wasn't worried. He knew the status quo would take hold again in due time. He closed the store at dusk and stepped out onto the streets of Yongenjaya, still in his apron, cigarettes crinkling in his front pocket. The day had been drizzly and grey, and he shielded his cigarette from the wet as he lit up. The smoke curled about him as he walked, his silhouette thin and bent like a crippled vulture. On the day they'd received the news that Akira had fallen unconscious, about 2 weeks and 1,000 years ago, Makoto had stepped into LeBlanc and thought of it as Sojiro's private refuge from the march of time, unchanging in defiance of the future. In truth, Sojiro sometimes thought the same way, but about Yongenjaya in general. This huddle of streets was always the same place, the same thing. The pool of condensate under the air conditioner next door. The blots of rust on the shutter after the pawn shop closed. The rhythmic cracks from the batting cages. People, people, people. He blew smoke and pondered. Everyone assumed the future meant progress, but it seemed to him that it brought regression just as often. The march of time fought to drag them back to something familiar, no matter how much the world tried to degrade. A downward spiral. You end up at the same place again and again, but with every revolution you sink a little lower. The rain fell harder. Droplets glistened on his beard. His phone buzzed. He took it out of his pocket and answered it without checking the number. "Took you long enough," he said. "Sorry, wanted to get in touch with everyone else first." "Makes sense. All I did was feed and board you for a year." "I'm sorry." "Lighten up, kid. It's a joke." He turned toward the bathhouse and ducked into the laundry as the rain fell harder. He took refuge among the silent machines, his cigarette smoke trailing after him like a stray animal. "So how are you feeling? Any after effects?" "A little stiff. That said, they're going to release me in a couple days. Good thing, too. My parents were missing work. They wouldn't leave me alone." "Think they feel guilty for last year?" "Maybe. I don't know. I'll talk to them about it. A pause. When he spoke again, his words were more hesitant. I know it's a weird time to ask, but it's just... They didn't visit before, even when I got sent to juvie. Do you think I disappointed them somehow? Sojiro hissed out smoke through his teeth. He'd gotten in touch with Akira's parents a few times during his stay at LeBlanc, but as the year had progressed, his feelings regarding their seeming hesitance to actually contact their son had gone from understanding to bewilderment to something very close to fury. If he tried hard enough, he could sympathize with them. Maybe even flatter himself into thinking that they'd stayed away because they trusted Sojiro himself to handle it. But he hadn't spoken up about it, because it wasn't his place, and as an uneasy Cold War between them all had continued, it had clearly frostbitten something inside Akira himself. You should ask them, he said at last. I'm serious. You're the only one who get a straight answer from them. But in any case, they clearly still care about you, if they didn't leave your side after all this time. Yeah, I worry them. He sighed. Seems like we're always letting someone down, no matter what we do. He really must have gone through hell, Sojiro thought. The kid was almost never this open with him. Outside, the rain became a downpour.